Okay, I'm doing a quick, it's almost like a little recap video. It's actually for Rambo over at the Truth Codes. What I'm doing is I'm just showing how we get to the 187 number of July the 18th in the dollar bill, okay, and uh, how that's figured out, how that's decoded, okay. That for new people watching this, old people that may have watched a lot of my old decodes probably already know this stuff. But for new people watching it, also, there's an awful lot more in the dollar bill. There's tons more decode in here than what I'm just going to show you here. This is just like the little tip of the iceberg. But anyway, I'll show you how this all fits together. What I want to say straight away is that there's a number of Okay, the reason why we're talking about this right now is because because in Rambo's decode he talks about the spider and the spider web, okay, and of course the dollar bill on both this side and the other side of the dollar bill looks more like a spider's web, but this pattern that's on here, this spider's web, okay, um, is important, okay, because in this pattern there are certain points at which, and let me highlight them, okay, so you might know Malik here, the little owl, sorry I've just about colored over him there. Well, that pattern where he looks like an owl, that pattern's repeated, and it's repeated here, okay, and some people think that this looks like I think it looks like a moth. I've heard people call it a spider, okay, here, okay, and here, okay. Now, what's important about these points are these are all fold marker points, okay. And I'm going to leave it at that, because if you want to know more about how to fold the dollar bill, it's really a different video, okay. But I thought while I'm here I'll explain, that the little owl and how that pattern repeats actually gives us a point in which to fold the dollar bill, and you'll get certain different things out of those folds, okay. So with that being said, if people are interested in wanting to know more about that, it's in my archive, okay, my back videos. Just click on videos and then it'll bring up all the videos on the channel, and you can kind of scroll through, and most of them are labeled kind of sensibly. So okay, let's get rid of that nonsense off there real quick. Let's show you this. I'm going to show you how we get to July the 18th, okay. So what we've got is we've got a number of leaves and berries on here, laurel leaves and berries, okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to count up some leaves and berries. Now it's important to note that when you do this fold with Malik, right, that this side of the shield here actually joins in and overlays right here along this side of this O, okay. So what that means is that these leaves and berries that are in the center here are kind of coming together, okay. Okay, so what's actually happening, let me put a line here as well. That red line there is going to join up with that red line, which means that underneath, when we do that fold, underneath there we've got a set of numbers, okay, and the number is, we've got one berry and 5 leaves here and 5 leaves here. So what we've got there, let me get that stuff off of there a second. What we've actually got is one berry, sorry, and 5 leaves and 5 leaves, okay, 155, okay. Then what we're going to do is down this side of the dollar bill we've got some leaves and berries, and we're going to count those up, okay. So we've got 2 up here, okay, I call those the bunny ears, follow the white rabbit, okay. And then down here we've got 5 more leaves, okay, if I could write, and then we've got 4 berries, okay. Now obviously the number we come up with there is 254, and 254 is, yes, it's the corresponding, well, it is 9/11, okay, the 11th of September, but it's also the corresponding numbers that go with 111, which is the Queen's birthday, and of course her birthday is the twin of 9/11, and so we've got a reference here to that event, okay, and to the Queen, okay. And then what we're doing is what we're going to do is we're going to add on. So let me just go to this real quick. We're going to add on this 155 days here, okay. Okay, so if I go back to the dollar bill now, we've gone from September the 11th, which is our 254 day that we have on the one side of the dollar bill. We've added on the 155 leaves that we have at the top, the leaves and berries at the top, and that's going to take us to February the 13th. Now let me show you what we've got on this side. Let's count up the leaves and berries on this side. 2, 1 berry, and 3 leaves. Okay, so 2/13. Okay, our jump just took us to February the 13th. Okay, so we've already established that we've got 9/11 over here, and we're doing a 155 day jump, and that's taken us to February the 13th. Okay, and that number is so significant, and I'll show you a little bit more significance to that number in just a second. If we carry on and we say, well, we jumped this way, what happens if we just carry on and do another 155 day jump? Okay, so let me go back to the calculator. So we've went to February the 13th now. Okay, and I'm going to just do another 155 day jump, and that's going to take us to another date, a hidden date that's in the dollar bill. And I've got more on the 187 being in the dollar bill, but I'm just gonna focus on this for right now. Okay, so that if we do another 155 day jump, guess what? It takes us to July the 18th. Okay. Okay, you could say, well, Dan, where's July the 18th in the dollar bill? Well, it's not actually in here. Okay, but that's our jump, and there's also another set of jumps that we can do that will also take us to another 187 number, which is August the 17th. But I'm not going to do that right now, okay? I just wanted to show how we get to July the 18th. And I'm going to tell you a couple of other interesting things about July the 18th, and then I'll show you something else that's interesting that ties back into this. So, okay, so we did that jump, Dan. So what? Well, if we do another 55 day jump now, and if we were to count these berries that are down here, okay, we've got 55 berries and 55 berries. Okay, and then we've got 5 berries, sorry, and 5, which gives us a 55. We've also got 8 leaves and 8 leaves here. So let me just show you 2 more little jumps now, because we've went from we've done our 155 day, right? And we've got to July the 18th. So if I put July the 18th in, hang on, bear with me. If I put July the 18th in, I'm going to do a 55 day jump. And the reason why I'm doing a 55 day jump is because 155 plus 155 is 310. If I add another 55 on to complete the cycle of 1 year, so if I add another 55 on, okay, so that's we started on 9/11, and what we want to do is we want to finish on 9/11. So if I add another 55 days on, that will be a full year, one full cycle, okay? And the dollar bill has this idea of a cycle built into it. It's in a different decode, but anyway, if I add this 55 on, which is the 55 berries at the bottom of the dollar bill, it's going to take me back to September the 11th, okay? And if I add on my 88 now, okay, it's going to take me back to a different date completely, October the 14th. But the numerology for October the 14th is obviously 114. Okay, that's the number of days left in the year on the Queen's death date. Okay, so I think that's interesting, but it gets more interesting than that, because let me explain. Let me go to this chart here. Now, again, for new people, I have a video that explains this chart, but this is like Fibonacci type numbers. Okay, this is the Fibonacci numbers here. The next in the sequence would be Lucas numbers. These are real things, and then I added these two columns in, two rows in myself. Okay, which we've got the pi row, and then what I call the phi row as well here, which is pi and phi. Okay, and the reason why we go 2, 3, 5 is because if we look at the start of Fibonacci, okay, ignore the double one there, but the first three other digits are 2, 3, 5. Okay, so we have this repeated here. So anyway, to cut a long story short, these are all numbers that encode the golden ratio. Okay, and they're just put in a chart, and then from that chart we can look at, you know, how these numbers, you know, patterns within the chart, if you like, and we can use some of the gematria to, you know, we can explain things, I think, maybe using this chart. Okay, what I wanted to show to Rambo was, look at this 11 column here, right? I wanted to show everybody that's interested in the Queen's death. We've got this 11 column here, okay? First numbers up, 8, 9, we've got her death date. Second set of numbers up, we've got 199, her burial date. Third set of numbers up, we've got the 254 of 9/11, okay, which ties back with the 111 to make a full calendar year, okay. Again, again with the cycle and making a full cycle, okay. And then we've got the 364. This 364 I haven't talked about yet, but again, very close to a full year, okay, the idea of a complete cycle. And 364 being 1 day short of a full year encodes Eve, okay, the eve of something or an event, being the day before that thing, okay. That gives us the idea of Eve, okay, and of course within the reality we're dealing with the metaphysical, which is Eve, and the physical, which is man, Adam, okay. So anyway, I thought that was interesting to show there. And if we look also in the 12 column, we've got some other, you'll see some other numbers that start interacting with these numbers, like the 411 or the 114 in reverse here, you know, and there's several other little things. My recent decode, my last little decode on Madonna was this 86 and the 222 right here. Okay, this 222 is just the total for this column. Okay, I don't have every total in because it gets kind of complicated having a bunch of stuff on here. But again, the two totals that we're really interested in as well is this 55 for the metaphysical, and the physical column is 88. Okay, and those two add up to 143. Okay, so anyway, hopefully you can see why that's interesting. And I'll just tell you one more thing. The 18th of July, the significance of the 18th of July is that this 11 is super important. This 11 is all to do with God, okay? That's the whole thing with 9/11. Those two towers coming down is the removal of God, right? And so what we're seeking to find is this balance again between our two sides of reality, right? And when we find that balance, then we've got the Twin Towers back up, and Philippe Petit is walking across them, man on wire, is balancing, yeah, those two things correctly, right? That's been removed. Anyway, when that's removed, all we're left with is this 7 and the 1/8, okay? July the 18th is super important. That number is super important because not only is it the murder, death, kill number, so when this thing's gone, now you're in a state of being dead, but this is the same number that surrounds that thing as well. So there's, of course, there's always a positive and negative aspect, depending on the narrative of the story. But again, 718 is the thing that surrounds the 11, okay? So that's the importance of July the 18th, a super important date. One more thing to show you with July the 18th is that this 155, if we take, I'm just going to scribble across the front of here, but if we take, actually, let me show you the number jump first, okay? If we go from this day now, and we take another important date, one of the most important dates, I think, that's sort of drilled into people. In fact, I would almost say, other than Christmas, this, for an English person, this is a day that it's kind of similar with, I would say, if you're American, you have a day that's drummed into you, which is July the 4th, okay? Well, if you're English, the number that really sticks in your head, other than Christmas, of course, is November the 5th. Remember November the 5th. And of course, with the forks of the Guy Fawkes that go up the side of the towers, and all the other connections to the guy, you know, V for Vendetta. There's just tons of connections to Guy Fawkes. And if you go and look at his birthday and all the other stuff that surrounds Guy Fawkes, super interesting numbers, okay? But what I want to say about Guy Fawkes is, what do I want to say about Guy Fawkes? Is remember the I've already forgotten it. Remember the 5th of November. If I do a 115-day jump now, November the 5th, and I click to calculate, I am at November the 10th, which on the surface doesn't look like much, okay? But in the dollar bill, when you do this Malloc fold right here with this dude, when this shield comes over with the O, we get a day of the year that's encoded there, and that day is 1110. Okay, that's a decode for another day, but that number is super important with the dollar bill because it signifies the end of a cycle. And what's interesting about the 5th of November, okay, is that it is also in another decode in this. You kind of, you know, I mean, it's difficult for me to explain all this stuff in just one little video, but the 5th of November also is another start date within what I call the 100. In fact, it's the quarter code that's within, okay? And that's a completely, it's not a completely different decode. It all ties in together, but I can't explain it right now, okay? But the thing about the 155 and the 5th of November, if I write it the right way around, okay, the 5th of November, okay, and this 155, okay, if we add these numbers up, okay, we've got 6, 6, 6, okay? That's the important thing about that, right? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for the video, okay? Hopefully that sparked some people's interest in the hidden codes that are within the dollar bill. I've got a ton of back stuff on this, and again, hope that's helpful. All right, cheers, bye.